name on the invitation, and this realization only made her tears fall harder. This rectangle of fancy card was a reminder that she was losing a race she didn't know she had entered. She hadn't heard the starter pistol, and by the time she looked up, everyone she knew of a similar age seemed to be halfway around the track. It was a self-inflicted pressure, but whenever she looked at her peers, she automatically totted up their age and their achievements, instantly working out how far behind she was. For example, Helen, 42, owns a holiday home in Portugal and has 3 kids, of which the oldest is 18. 18! Which meant that she, at 39, was already at least 16 years behind Helen, who had married at the age of 23. There was no way she could catch up. The realization that she wasn't even set for a bronze medal was disheartening. In fact, forget the medals. Lucy didn't even know if she was going to be able to finish the race. If she did, everyone else would have left the arena long ago, meaning there would be no one there to witness her achievement, and so what would be the point? She glanced at Tansy, who looked lovely in her duck-egg blue 50s-inspired frock, as she rocked the sleepy Benedict in her arms, cooing, "Shh," with a look of abject fear that if she stopped rocking, or indeed cooing, he might wake up fully and yell. And that would never do, not in a church on this auspicious day, when he was the star of the show. Tansy had what Lucy considered to be mum-like proportions, an ample bosom, sturdy arms and a broad back, quite unlike her good self, who had, for as long as she could remember, been best described as scrawny. This was much to the chagrin of her friends and colleagues, who spent an age in the gym trying to emulate the very slender, lanky shape that she had been born with. Mum-like proportions or not, it was Tansy who stood with her beautiful, sleepy child in her arms, her teenage son Michael by her side, and Rick, her tall husband, standing with an arm draped around her. Lucy saw the way he looked at his wife, and then his boys with something beyond love. She felt the bunch of emptiness in her stomach, trying to imagine what it might feel like to have someone look at her that way. And just like that, she was once again acutely aware of her singledom. She swallowed and tried to concentrate, but as the Reverend Anthony spoke, her thoughts refused to stay anchored to the buffed flagstone floor and the old pitch-pine pews. Instead, she stared over his head at the stained-glass windows high above. Richard and Davina. If she was being completely honest, his leaving had been coupled with an enormous and instant sense of relief. In the years since they had split, she had been able to breathe properly and laugh heartily and commit more fully to her job, which hadn't gone unnoticed in her quarterly appraisal, where a directorship had been mentioned. She and Richard had clearly been mismatched, not least of all because she was a stickler for little things like fidelity, and he, rather obviously, was not. But it was more than that. Richard wanted the finer things in life: a twin-engine speedboat, a Breitling watch, a VIP pass for a major sporting event, and a healthy cellar bursting with burgundies. Whereas all she wanted was a baby. Not that she would ever mention this in the office, having been party to discussions with her male superiors, who had spoken openly about other women they were nervous to promote, knowing there might be childcare issues. She hated the hypocrisy and flagrant disregard of the law that didn't seem to bother them a jot. She found it quite ironic that her friends who leant on the window ledge and admired the view from her swanky London office, and who flexed her company credit card longingly between their fingers before trying on her enviable collection of shoes, the same ones who sat at home surrounded by a mess of baby paraphernalia, floors cluttered with baby gyms and soft toys, and whose worktops were crammed with sterilizers, bottles and baby wipes. These were the friends she yearned to trade lives with, and she would have done so in a single heartbeat. As her girlfriends bemoaned their lack of sleep and whined about cracked nipples while hunting for a semi-clean mug in which to make tea, with baby vomit smeared on their shoulders, and their hair escaping in greasy tendrils from grimy scrunchies, trilling, "Don't look at me, I haven't even had time for a shower," Lucy felt a surge of something in her gut that came very close to envy. Arriving home to her beautiful, spacious, neutral toned apart.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.